Hey, so are you ready for this year? Look, this is the first full week of the year. And this is usually when our pressure, remember, that's what I'm talking about. This is when our pressure quietly starts showing back up. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? The first, last week you said, oh, it's the first. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start this new routine. And by the next day, Friday, you're like, I got other stuff that I need to do. And Monday is like, oh, I got to start work and I don't have time to work out. All those things that, kind of change what you had originally decided to do. So that's what happens when we get into the new year and we did all these new things. We changed how we responded to things. And it's really easy to get back into those old patterns. It's really easy to let them take over again. And so, what I want to do is, I want to talk about what it actually looks like to move without pressure, not in theory, but in real life. And let me make sure everything is working. Great. So, this isn't a fixing conversation. It's a clarity conversation. And I'm Mischelle O'Neill here on Break Time Live. So, first, I want to identify the kinds of pressure that we're choosing to step out of, because we got to make sure that we name those things, that we identify those things, and that we understand what they are. So, there's the pressure, number one, that we put on ourselves. So, what is that? That's the expectations that we put on ourselves, the things that we feel we should be, how we feel we should be, and the roles that we take on and how those roles are played out. And then there's the guilt we feel when we don't do what we're expected to do, or what we have put on ourselves, when we say no, when we say, how do I say, the guilt when we say no, when we really want to say no, but we feel guilty about it, right? And then there's the failure, always feeling like a failure, or that you didn't do enough, you didn't give enough, you weren't enough, that enough word. And so then there's the learned pressure, how I learned to move through life, right? Is how you learn things as a child, how as a little girl you should act, how as a boy you should act, what things you were expected to do, and what things that you saw others do. And so you learned that this is how I'm supposed to act. That's those external expectations, or those societal norms or changes. And you just fall into them. We all do. So it's nothing different. It's nothing wrong with it. And then there's those environmental things, depending on where you are, depending on the group of people that you hang around with, and all those things. Those are the other pressures that we put up with. And then there's the taking care of others and keeping things smooth. We have children. Those of us who have children, we have responsibilities with them. We have aging parents. A lot of us at this time in our life are dealing with aging parents, and we have a responsibility. We want to take care of them. They took care of us for years, so of course we want to take care of them, right? And then we have our spouse. Well, there's an obligation there that, that's that twofold obligation, and we don't want to drop that. And then there's organizations or works that we're part of, and we have things that we need to do there. And then finally, that pressure is saying yes instead of pushing back, which actually I have a reel coming out this Friday about that. But it's saying yes instead of pushing back and saying, no, I'm not going to do that. So how many of you out there have actually found yourself in one of these pressures, if not all, or deal with these pressures at some level? Because this is the pressure that we're talking about. And I want you to understand that pressure didn't start as pressure. It started as responsibility. And at the beginning, responsibility is not a problem. I mean, we all have responsibilities. We get responsibilities as children, simple things like changing the toilet paper on the toilet paper roll, just anything that our parents start teaching us, taking things to the trash. Even at 2 years old, you learn what the trash is and how to pick up a piece of paper and take it to the trash. And so at the beginning, it's not a problem. You choose to take that on, right? But the thing about responsibilities is it has limits. There's your role, there's your work, and there's your people. There are limits, right? And a lot of the pressure that we live under is internal, but it didn't originate there. That's not where it started. The shift happened actually quietly. Responsibility actually turned into pressure when it keeps expanding without renegotiation. Is when you find yourself doing things that you no longer really feel that that's something you want to do. And so you've lost your choice. And it's not because you're weak and not because you're bad with boundaries. Let's get that out right off the bat. No, it's not because you're bad with boundaries, but it's because you're reliable, that you follow through. And these are all great qualities, is that you notice what needs to be done and you respond instead of ignoring. Great qualities. I'm not saying any of these are bad. Do you see yourself in here? I mean, raise your hand if this is you. And that's when responsibility starts to actually grow sideways. So what am I talking about? You begin to take responsibility, not just for your actions, but also for other people's reactions. You start doing them because you know the hassle that you're going to get, the attitudes you're going to get, all that. And you think to yourself, hey, it's easier just to deal with this. Or other people's comfort. Maybe I'll just do this because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable or whatever, or other people's outcomes, because you're trying to help them get to a certain point or a certain outcome, or things that you don't want them to have to deal with, and or things that no one ever actually told you to do, but you took on because you just wanted to be nice, or you just wanted to be that person. And that right there, all those little things we just talked about, the other people's comfort, their outcomes, their reactions, that's when responsibility stops being a role and starts being a load. It becomes a weight. It becomes heavy. And pressure is responsibility without an endpoint. Because roles end, they stop. I mean, you may be a mother, but there's a certain point when a lot of the responsibilities that you held as a mother ends, and it turns to your child, right? Well, when you don't let those things go, when you continue to carry the responsibilities that are no longer yours, that's when it becomes a load. And pressure isn't about volume, it's about lack of completion. Is you're holding on to something that is no longer yours. And so you never completed that part of your life, or that section of your life, or that particular role in your life, or that particular thing in your life. So I want to talk about, now that we have a clear picture of what pressure is, and actually the difference between pressure and responsibility, I want to talk about what it feels and looks like when you do start fighting that old pressure pattern and get a taste of what it would be or what it could be. And once you get that taste, it's like having that taste of ice cream or something that you love, and then deciding, I'm never going to do that no more. But once you have that taste, I mean, that old pattern tries to sneak back in. That's when you say, oh no, mm-mm, mm-mm. And there are certain things, even if you don't realize it right away, there are certain things that actually happen in your body to you. There are signals signals that are firing off and say, you don't like this no more. Mm-mm. That reminds me of kids, huh? Mm-mm, right? And so your nervous system actually starts speaking up. You start noticing pressure sooner, like, oh no, I don't like the way that makes me feel. And your body signals before your mind does. It, that feeling of that rising up that you feel. And it's like knowing that you could take something on, but choosing to push back in real time. Have you ever done that? Something that you used to let go, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, that's you do that. I'm not doing that for you anymore. It's time for you to stand up and step up and do it yourself. You do that at work anytime with your colleagues or with those you're responsible, that you've been stepping in and taking it over for them and doing things for them, and then all of a sudden you say, you need to take care of that. That's what I hired you for. Not letting people take care of their own responsibilities, and you finally decide in real time, oh no, they're going to take care of this. And it's honoring. What you do is you honor the signal that you're getting now instead of overriding it. That's what it feels like when you start or stop letting pressure take over your life, and you start walking in that new feeling of no pressure or less pressure, right? And it's a new behavior, but it's not new information. And I know I'm talking to you, and you've probably heard it before in some form or some fashion. Why? But the thing is, it feels uncomfortable. And it doesn't only feel uncomfortable to you, it actually feels uncomfortable to those around you. And that's why you're getting that pushback that you get, is because people are used to the old version of you. For me, the old Mischelle. You ever hear someone say to you, oh, you're getting new, huh? Right? They've learned what you would do, right? You've taught them, oh, I'll take care of this. Oh, I got you. Oh, I'll do that. So they've learned that, and you've taught them that. They've learned that you won't push back, that you've got them. And when you do it now, it surprises them. It's like, oh, she's new. It unsettles them because now they and their role has to change, and they don't know where the new lines are yet. They haven't figured them out yet. And maybe you weren't that clear on where they are. Sometimes it's a simple conversation of, hey, this is your responsibility, and I'm not going to do it anymore. Good example. As your kids become teenagers and they have to get up for school, and you put that clock in their room, and you said, this is the clock. It is your responsibility to set it every day, even every evening. And when it goes up, I'm not calling you. It's your responsibility to get up. If you're late, I'm not going to rush out and take you to school. That's your responsibility, no longer mine. And I'm going to let you deal with the consequences of your actions. Those lines are clearly set. However, the issue is, as we go along, if we continue letting them break those lines or push back, we're not helping, and we're not teaching what we want them to do. We're teaching them to take us on our old habit and our old patterns, right? So we train them to do what we'll tolerate. Simple as that. And the real question beneath all this is, how do I stop feeling the pressure? How do I change without guilt? And how do I let others adjust? How do I stay regulated while relationships actually recalibrate? Because you may lose some relationships during this. Your relationship may change, but you want to honor who you are. You want to honor what you believe and what you're willing to take, and not to the detriment or giving in to everyone else. And pressure doesn't disappear when you change, it shifts. And the hardest part isn't stopping, is letting others catch up. It's like, come on, you got this. So, what do we do when that change feels foreign, right? We stop pushing through changes. And when we stop pushing through, that actually changes everything. It feels foreign to others. And like I said, it feels foreign to you, right? It feels, well, I'm doing something new. And so you start, one of the first things I started doing was questioning myself. It was like, am I being too hard? I mean, I've always stepped in for them. I can do it. Am I being wrong? Is that mean? I don't want to be mean or you know, all those things. And your reflex, your normal reflex is to focus on them. You want to take care of others. That's you. You're a nurturer. And in some cases, it's people that you love. So you want to take care of them. So your reflex reaction is to focus on them. And then there's a quieter question there that says, what about me? But then you feel guilty for saying, what about me? Look, I've been through all these. I know what they all feel like. And we do. Is that you? Do you feel guilty when you tell someone or you make this new stance or do you start second guessing yourself when you make these new stands? And when that awareness that you begin to get when you start making these changes, when it gets louder, you didn't realize how much you tolerated before, but now it's like, oh, I can't believe, oh, they were getting over on me. You know that's how you felt. You know that's how you feel. Now your reaction is actually sharper and it feels almost more hyper. You know, you're more in tune to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And after a while, you're saying, no, no. I mean, I can help you. I can tell you what to do, but I'm not going to do it for you. And at first, you're going to feel some kind of way. But after a while, you know, you'll be okay. Because what happens when it first happens is, like I said, you get more hyper. I mean, feeling it in your system. It's like this buzzing, this irritation. It's like, oh, and you're fighting yourself on whether to give in or to let it go. And it's almost like your nails on the chalkboard because it's like, if I let this go, but once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. And your tolerance drops. That's what living without pressure or less pressure feels like. It's like I can't tolerate what I used to tolerate. And that's a good feeling. So that transition that you live in is wanting that internal noise to stop, is wanting relief from that irritation that you're feeling while still being within that relationship. And so there's a middle ground there that you're looking for because you're still living with these people, right? And you're still interacting at work or wherever with these people, right? And you're still caring for these people. So it's how do I temper how I'm feeling that irritation? And how do I live in trueness of who I am and how I want to walk here on out? And not being the stand-in for everyone anymore. You need to think about both. You need to think about yourself and them. But it's learning now that them isn't always necessarily first. This isn't about cutting people off. This is my reality check for you. It isn't about disappearing. I'm not telling you to go hibernate or stay away from people. And this is about changing how you move and how you start moving through life, and retaining others becomes part of that process. Look, being foreign, I can't even speak, doesn't mean being wrong. Anything new, anything you do new feels foreign. Anything. And if it doesn't, let me know, because I want to talk to you, right? Stretching ourselves always feels unfamiliar. Foreign has always been part of our growth. A good example is our foods. So, again, I love going back to kids. So, when we were kids, we were told, just try it. You know how your parent will put different things on your plate? And you're like, I don't like that. And they say, no, just try it. I'm just going to put a little bit. I just want you to taste it. And if you don't like it, then I won't give it to you again, or you don't have to finish it. But they wanted to open up your world and give you new experiences and give you the courage to try things different, right? And so at first it was a foreign taste. It wasn't necessarily good or bad. It was just different. Something that you weren't used to. And so what you have to do is, at that moment, you say, someone asks you, how does that taste? You say, it's different. And when you say different, it gives you that space to decide, do I like it or not? You know what that is? You know what that space created for you? Choice. You got to choose whether you were going to take it on or let it go. So foreign doesn't automatically mean wrong. I want you to let curiosity replace judgment. Once it's identified as different, you can slow down and you can take notice. It's different. Well, you ask yourself, is it different in a good way or different in a bad way? Or is it just unfamiliar? No rush to decide. You can try it again, right? If you're not sure, it's like, let me take another taste. And then you can decide whether it's for you or it's not. Have you ever had something feel strange at first, but make sense later? Just because you gave it that space to understand, irritation and frustration isn't the enemy. It's a signal. It's time for you to ask yourself, what am I really irritated with? Is it myself or is it someone else? Is it how I showed up or what I tolerated? That's that space I'm talking about. And sometimes those feelings are mixed, and sometimes they're layered, because there's so many layers to our feelings and our emotion. And that irritation is just trying to tell you something, because most people don't pause here. What they do is they react instead of feeling, thinking, and understanding. And this moment isn't about fixing. It's about recognizing what's really happening. And understanding comes before that change. And so if this feels uncomfortable right now, while I'm talking about it, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong, or you want to change something, or you don't want to change something. Different doesn't mean that you need to decide today. It means you become more aware, and then you start paying attention to your nervous system as it signals you. And you don't have to react to everything you feel. And you know what? That's what I want you to sit with today. And that's what I wanted to share today. Just that. I didn't want to get heavy, even though we kind of did, into things for the new year. I just wanted to sit with you this first Thursday of this year. And I want you to look forward to some amazing things I have coming down the line just for you. Until next time, you're on Break Time Live with Mischelle. Take care. See you next Thursday. Bye-bye.